got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Welcome back to the Ministry of Truth. I am your number one host on this channel, which is only one host, so it kind of still makes me the best. But before we start the show, obviously I got a little stuff to go over today with the news and breaking news, some not breaking news, some year old, but still some interesting news. But as you know, before we get started, it's obviously we're going to play some music on Tier Day. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hopefully YouTube doesn't fucking censor this because it is a live performance. With further ado, cult of personality. Ah! A leader sleep, that leader dies. Personality.
I asked for you, still you love me. I told you 1 and 1 makes 3. Oh, I become the personality. Like Joseph Stalin and Gandhi. I become the personality. Become the personality. Become the
Personality.
You won't have to follow me, 'cause only I can set you All right.
Who got?
Go, 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 go.
They're not moshing. What's wrong with them? What's up, Cat? Call personality. But when he's telling you to jump, is fear itself. Little good music, dude. The morning started before we get to, whoops, we're not getting to the main events yet. Main event, however, is like 48 minutes long, and it's conservatives and liberals. Obviously a debate, which I love debates, especially between conservative and liberals. But before we get started with all that, we have, oops, fuck me, my producer's fired. Got a video from you. It's from the United Spot. And, you know, they're pretty up to date on, you know, current events like Burning Man.
The United Spot. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the roast of Joe Biden. What's going on? Don't worry, Joe. You'll forget all about it tomorrow. Wow, I just noticed that's Michelle and Barack over there.
You been Big Mike?
Thank you for being here and taking a break from firing 50 landscapers in one day. I don't blame you, though. 50 of them and not one leaf blower in sight. You got them out of there faster than Benghazi. Michelle is starting another bookstore. What is that, like 12 books? Do the proceeds of your books go to school lunches?
Damn.
Kamala Harris is in the house. This woman goes through knee pads faster than me and Joe go through diapers. Every time I see her, she's wearing a new pearl necklace. Seriously, how'd you get the golf ball through the garden hose? Kamala can make a hot dog disappear faster than Hillary's emails and Michelle Obama's pregnancy pictures.
Wow.
Hunter Biden's, stressed. Hunter is the poster child for above the law. Hunter's net worth is $230 million. He's got more money than me. No wonder you're not in prison. Maybe I should take my clothes off and smoke some Parmesan. I see Hillary Clinton over there. Which means statistically, one of us will go missing tonight. And finally, the rock star, mumbling Joe Biden. 82 million votes. That's even more votes than you got last time, Obama. Only took Joe 3 times to finally make it to the big show. 3 times and 3 different bodies. How many different bodies are you up to, Hillary?
I know, right?
They say that since Joe took office, everything in America is higher. Gas, inflation, food, Hunter. But there is one thing that's not high. Joe's approval rating. So seriously, who gets the paycheck? You or Obama?
Wow. All right. Gotta get that humor. Now from humor to a bunch of frauds. What do you do when you make millions and billions of dollars and you live in the country, the state of Hawaii, and you're rich and you have the nerve to ask little people, I'm not meaning like midgets, people like me, people like you, to donate to Hawaii?
Somebody down.
And the Hawaii, or was the People's Funding of Maui, which is a scam.
Not even kick them. You want to karate chop monkey stomp they mother while they're down, and then part your lips on this internet to ask us for money. Kiss our.
Excuse me, senor. May I speak to you, please? I asked for Mai Tai, and they brought me a pina colada, and I said no salt for the margarita, but it had salt on it.
Lo siento
There's
mucho,
big grains
señor.
of salt on it. Again, I won't be leaving a tip because I could.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy, Benny. I often tell you that the energy is shifting and that we are winning, and today I will prove it. The world has turned on two of the smarmiest, grossest, virtue-signaling frauds in the entire celebrity entertainment complex, used to funnel their influence and power to the Democrat Party. Oprah and The Rock are now being utterly roasted, called out, destroyed, and will never return. Ladies and gentlemen, the world has now exposed Oprah and The Rock as the frauds they are, and we are here for it. Buckle up. We're going to get them today, baby. I get your house. I get your house. I get your house in Maui. I get every house in Maui. Oprah is so excited for the moment when her and her bestie, The Rock, who is worth, let's see here, $800 million. Let's check Oprah's net worth. Oh, $3.5 billion. So between the two of them, roundly, let's just use a couple of Cayman Islands here, get a little bit of money in Epstein's Island, stash a little bit of cash away in the Swiss bank. Definitely worth about $5 billion. What does that mean? That means that they could build 400 new Lahainas in Maui. The two of them together, without calling some of their extremely rich friends. Oprah and The Rock don't need a single penny for the rest of their lives. But that doesn't stop the two of them from asking and begging regular people for money for their rich friends to rebuild their fancy island community. Check this out.
It is a clean, direct from you directly to the
just wait.
Sorry, Kat. We only drag famous people and sometimes retards.
right away with some real immediacy.
Oh my God!
You guys around the world with disasters like this.
Mm-hmm. You guys like to profit? I mean, like to help?
What we need is money. What we need is money, Oprah says. What we need is money. I mean, I'm going to try not to stop this video every single 10 seconds, and I got so many reactions to play for you. Again, buckle up. You're going to love this video.
You guys like to profit? I mean, like to help?
The number one thing they need is money. Hold on. Just one quick second here. The Rock is worth $1 billion. This is $800 million. These are all guesses. This is a guesstimate. The Rock is worth $1 billion. Okay? This is just a filing error. It's like a rounding error. The Rock is worth $1 billion. Oprah's worth $3.5 billion. $1 billion is 100 million. Times 10. Do you understand how much money that is? Do you understand that Oprah and The Rock could literally rebuild themselves with a small fraction, with pennies? You could snip pennies of their net worth. They could rebuild every single home in Lahaina, in Maui. It's worth noting here. Again, and they're sitting here, they release a video begging for money from regular people. Okay, it gets worse.
So people being able to have their own agency, being able to make decisions for themselves about what they need and what their family needs, that's our goal, is to get that to the people now. So
you could get it.
Give all the people who are calling me and texting me and messaging me and saying, what do I do? What do I do? This is what you do. The People's Fund of Maui.
There we go.
Laughing.
Y'all really need to pay attention to what you're about to see. You're gonna fucking
Yay, the People's Fund of Maui.
You'll see the
well, at the very least, like between the Oprah and Rock, like it goes directly to people, right? Right?
Okay, so you know me, I just had to click the button, right? So then I was sitting here reading and went, oh look, Entertainment Industry Foundation, EIF, is the one that you want to be donated for.
That's not
okay. Well, how about this one? Turns out the charity there seems like, look at the founders. What's really caught my eye was Warner Brothers because, well, Warner Brothers. That sounds familiar.
Never heard of them.
Oh, like, got it. Okay, so they're creating a fraudulent fund in order to funnel money back into the entertainment industry, which is on strike right now, which is seeing the absolute hemorrhaging of all their profits. They are now going to steal from regular people to give to the entertainment industry. Oh, man. Okay, so people are calling this out. They are calling this out, and it is a beautiful thing to see. Check out the responses online. Here are just a few of them.
Dwayne Johnson and Oprah Winfrey is asking for donations for the Hawaii fire? Do the rich people stay rich by taking from the poor? Let me explain. No, thank you, Dwayne Johnson and Oprah Winfrey. Y'all billionaires want donations from people that can't afford to buy milk of sugar. Kiss my All kids is dumber today than they was yesterday because of it. We paying for the Ukraine war. Leave the poor alone and go and ask some of your rich friends. And then y'all laugh at the end of the video.
Yep.
With y'all asking for donations. What the is funny? The rich stay rich from taking away from the poor. If you really want to help Hawaii, use your own goddamn money.
Just click where you see wealth redistribution, the socialist way. They're talking about redistributing the middle class and lower class's money, right? Because that would be bad. Because rich people are still going to be rich, and then I got to pay for little Susie down the street to smoke crack.
See below and send a donation. That money is going to go to one of many residents who have been displaced.
Ain't no motherfucking way you came on this motherfucking internet and propped your lips up to ask the 99% for money when you are of the 1% that has it all. Then on top of that, you trying to get us to believe that if we click a link that your name is on, Oprah, that we're going to trust for that money to go directly to anybody? I really feel like y'all be playing in our faces.
Yo, remember how everybody loved Oprah for decades? And now everybody's seeing what she really is. Which is funny because I've never really liked Oprah.
Now I feel like I know y'all be playing in our faces. Ain't no motherfucking way. You got property on that motherfucking island. You telling me you're not the biggest donor? Make it make sense. And Dwayne, you're from Hawaii. Show the people,
Miami.
Put your money where your mouth is. If you care about these people and you care about your people, then I need you to pay them people. I need you to pay them people. Y'all have hundreds of people on y'all.
His family's from Samoa. I mean, not to take away from his, but he's actually from Miami and his family's from Samoa.
Our team, y'all have all of these different estates. Y'all got private islands and planes and jets and shit. And you part your lips to get on this internet and ask us if we're going to donate to Maui, and then try to convince us that it's going to go directly in their hands. How many organizations have y'all started, or how many donation links have y'all created? And those people have never seen that money. They ain't never seen that money. They ain't never touched that money, felt that money, smelt that money. There was also reports of you, Oprah, going around trying to get people to sell their land.
Oh.
So which one is it? You want to help the people, or you want to kick them while they down?
Oh, okay.
She wants to
straight into my veins.
And The Rock, what in the flying was that video that you guys made? Was there nobody on your team that says, hey, this is a bad idea? Don't you guys have teams of like 100 people each, and no one said this is a bad idea? This is why people call celebrities out of touch. There should have been a video of the victims. Pull your resources together and we need to hear the stories from the victims if you want to create a marketing campaign that we can donate directly.
Speaking of that, the video I did with her Maui's, all that stuff, it got age restricted by YouTube.
Directly to the people. We're a little suspicious when it comes to a fund created where we don't know where that money's going. If it was a real authentic person talking and you all used your resources and celebrity friends to share that authentic video where we know the money's going directly to them, it would have made a bigger impact. But I don't understand what's going on in celebrities' heads sometimes. That energy was the same as that video that was cut together during the pandemic where everyone was in their mansions and everyone was scared for their life, losing their jobs and their business were shut down. And you know what I'm proud of? This is what I am so proud of. The comment section was beautiful. Nobody was falling for it. It was people from the left and the right, and people are coming together now and realizing we've had enough of this bullshit. Everybody is struggling right now. I think they're calling it a silent depression.
I think it's funny that the pedophiles of Hollywood and stuff, they don't have a job right now. The writers of Pedowood don't have a job right now. So what do? They pull at people's heartstrings and lie so they can get their money back by saying you're helping Hawaii, the People's Fund of Maui.
And the top 1% is so out of touch.
So yeah, let's check in on exactly how this fundraiser is doing.
People's Fund of Maui.
Oprah's video has been up for the majority of the day, raking in a good 400,000 views and a simply astonishing ratio, but has only managed so far to raise $3,440,000. With a good chunk of that being this
$3,000.
But look at this. This is from Dwayne Johnson's video with the little donor icon, and he has raised $1,660,000. So a total of about $5,000 with over 1 million views between the two of them. But look at this anonymous donor right here. $500. Anonymous donor. That's them donating to their own fund to make it look legit. I have seen videos from people who are liberal with pronouns. I have seen videos from people from the right. I have seen videos from all people from all walks of life telling other people not to donate to this. We're going to make Oprah eat that 10 million. And let me tell you something else. There are more people out here who are awake than I think we even realize. This had happened maybe just 2 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody would have fallen all over it. It would have raised $10-20 million by the end of the day. And they barely broke 5,000. This is it. This is how we cancel them.
Yep. And this is exactly how they get canceled by a donor, somebody who decided he was going to donate and then checked the comment section and said, what the?
Oprah, I did everything you said, but my commenters saw right through it and they ripped me a new one. This guy right here even called me a bootlicker. I read my comment section and they had some really great points. Most of the people pointed out that you and The Rock have enough money to solve this problem on your own. They also pointed out that you're well connected and that you have a lot of rich friends that could also donate. Even though I'm not going to complete the deal, I do have some advice for you. According to Forbes, Elon Musk is worth $248 billion. You could ask for some of his help. Jeff Bezos has $160 billion, according to Forbes, and I'm pretty sure he'll help you too. Warren Buffett is really generous, and he's getting older. He's not going to have enough time to spend that $121 billion that he has. So call him. Bill Gates has fallen to $115 billion, but I'm pretty sure he'll help you. And he's getting older too, so he can't spend all that money. Lastly, I think you should call Mark Zuckerberg. Meta is headed in the right direction, and he's worth $105 billion. I'm sorry I had to renege on our deal, but the people have spoken. I'd like to apologize for everybody who had to suffer through my ignorance.
People are having to do apology videos for supporting Oprah and The Rock. Do you realize how significant this is? Again, as the woman stated previously, if this was done a couple of years ago, there would have been a bunch of like smooth brains who would have been like, yeah, that's absolutely take my money, queen. Now everyone's awake and they're like, you frauds, you billionaire frauds. Let's check in on some of those extra comments.
Money directly in the hands of the people who need it right now.
Okay, this video is deeply concerning on many levels. To be standing in the exact spot where the people are, be asking someone who's not there for money. So in this video, you talk about being concerned about the money going to the wrong people and the in-betweens of charitable organizations. You're standing right there, both of you. Yeah, you could just go down and write the checks yourselves. If you have like decent handlers, they would tell you to just give the money out and then you could come back and say, hey, I gave this much money, like, love to get it back. You didn't even have the wherewithal to even do that. This is like unlocks a new level of evil, in my opinion, because you're watching someone who is just like lying and deceitful right in your face. And you're just like, are you really saying this to me? Do you really expect me to believe this? You're over here playing in our faces like this. And you brought The Rock into it. Like, my man, you're done. Also very strange for someone who's been associated with like trafficking at their own institutions in Africa. Oprah. If you see this, to be like even casually fooling around like this, like, babe, this is not for you. Ask us for money. We cannot buy food, groceries. We cannot buy homes anymore. You're someone who's helping people on that island not be able to buy homes because, again, you were buying up all their land. So also you might want to talk to your friend. I think Mark Zuckerberg lives on the islands as well, on the island of Maui. You might want to just get him to pay his taxes, or maybe your friend Jeff to pay his taxes, and then we can help these people out. Yeah, you want to try that before you come ask us for money. The brazenness, like I said, is very concerning to me. Say it isn't so. I don't know what this is about, but it makes me incredibly suspicious.
Straight into my veins.
What you're going to get for starting this foundation. Like,
yeah, there you go.
You think people don't notice what you're doing? It's a good thing you already live in the hills, so you don't have to run very far to get to them. But that type of stuff, like, we're not doing this anymore. I can't wait till the internet finds out like who's actually involved in the rehabilitation of that space and finds out that you somehow probably are likely involved, allegedly, TikTok, in like the rebuilding, and you probably get some kickback from that as well. So you're just probably gaining from this destruction, and now you're just coming in our faces and trying to get a tax write-off. Like,
that's exactly what it is.
Leave us alone.
Oh man, it gets into my veins! Into my veins! They are waking up!
Cancel Oprah and The Rock for asking people like me and you to donate money for the Maui wildfires. Oprah and The Rock have come together and created this foundation to give money back to the people of Lahaina. And apparently in the comments, she said that they both started with $10 million to start the fundraiser. Now that is fine and dandy, $5 million and $5 million. The only problem is Oprah is worth $2.5 billion. So that $5 million is 0.2% of her entire net worth. And The Rock is worth $800 million. I'm not going to sit here and say that Oprah and The Rock should give all their money that they have to this foundation, but they are friends with a ton of famous people that could give way more money than you and I could, and the comment section did not let them forget it. You two alone can provide more resources, and both are well connected. Some of us can't even donate because we have nothing to donate. Oprah, we're broke. We're barely living. You have more money than all of us. Rock, you were a childhood hero. I watched your whole career, and this stuff with Oprah has destroyed it all.
Did I just witness what I think I witnessed? Please don't tell me I just saw a billionaire standing next to a multi-millionaire begging the average everyday citizen for donations that can barely get by due to a real-life recession, living paycheck to paycheck, barely can pay rent, barely can put food on the table for our families, in a country where our president is giving away all our resources to another country for money? If you two don't go take your Hollywood elite behinds to your other Hollywood elite friends and politician buddies that got millions like you do and billions and get all that money together and help out Maui, you are out your mind. Please don't insult our intelligence like that.
Come on, baby. Let's do one. Like, come on. One more. Let's go.
Oprah, come here, baby. Come here, baby. You asking for relief aid to those poor people in Maui that lost everything. Ain't them your neighbors?
Yep.
I mean, you used to be giving away stuff on your show. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Why can't you reach into your $2 billion net worth and say, you get relief, you get relief, you get relief? Instead, you down here asking me for money. I know it's been a long time since you've been broke, but let me just tell you that the prices in the 90s when you was broke are not today's prices, baby.
Yeah.
And then you got the nerve to come down here and ask me for money with your own personal bodyguard who's easily worth $800 million alone. I know at least between the two of y'all can both come up with about $2 million to help your neighbors out. I mean, Oprah, it ain't even like you got to pay a deductible on your insurance because your property wasn't touched.
And even the people of Maui are saying that. The people of Lahaina are saying straight up, wait a second. This is Oprah and Jeff Bezos. This is what's going on. The people of Lahaina are saying this is not a coincidence. Calling out Oprah, calling out the holding back of water, the holding back of resources, the closing of the roads, the not setting off the sirens to let people know, the pushing of people back into the town center. This is the post from The Rock and Oprah, and they are getting just absolutely thermo-nuked here. Where were you on the night of the fire, Oprah? Math ain't matching with this one. You guys literally have so much money. You can donate it and make it back within a year. Pathetic. There's already a comprehensive list of locals who lost their homes and been displaced. People can donate directly to them instead of your fund. Dolly donated her own money straight into my veins. People are waking up. It's an incredible thing to see. We're inspired by it. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stay on this story. This is such a culturally impactful story. Oprah and The Rock called out as the frauds.
Yeah, I need to be a little more careful running Maui stories because, ooh, they definitely didn't like my last one. Let me see if I can find that email. Sorry, I don't mean to be like James, but here we go. Good old YouTube. We have reviewed your content and determined that it may not be suitable for viewers under the age of 18. Per our community standard guidelines, as a result, we have age restricted the following content. The video was called Maui Wowie. Now, tell me again why that was 18 plus. I'm pretty sure I was talking about Maui. But that's beside the point. Let's get to some intelligent liberals, because they exist, right? Anyway, it's about 3 minutes. It's just liberals being liberals, talking.
On the topic of these pornographic books that you keep calling these point of contacts on as relates to whether they should be read or not. 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher, currently in Storm Grove Middle School and Freshman Learning Center, page 265. As if letting him finger me was going to cure all my problems, but in the end,
Sir, I will
never
stop
told
you
to get
there,
away.
and then we will continue.
You stop rubbing circles on my stomach. Instead, you rub back and forth gently along my waist. Your pinky made its way under the top of my panties and rolled back and forth from hip to hip.
To leave. Thank you. Sir, he needs to be removed.
Your hand off me.
Thank you.
Why are they touching him?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Fucking scumbags.
Do you need a hug too?
Yes, I would love to have a hug.
Do you have any questions? Do you need something?
I have a lot of questions.
Because my child never heard any of this stuff.
Well, she looks like a white
reading
supremacist.
her and your group
I
were
haven't
reading
read
her
yet, but I'm going to.
until we were in here.
I have a lot to read.
You know
And I'm going
something?
to
So
read
then you're okay with
No.
with reading this
You're
material verbally
okay
to
with
a
the stuff they do in
13-year-old
the
little
school
girl?
system. You're okay
You
with
are okay
DEI.
with this. You
You're okay with
circumvent
diversity,
the
equity, and
actual
inclusion.
due process
You're
to
okay
come
with
in here
Pride Month.
and read this
You're
stuff aloud
okay
to my
with the
child.
rainbow flag.
Is that
What
what
is
you're
that?
okay with?
with
You
all this
literally
junk.
just said you're going to read.
So she's worried about him reading the book to them at a school board meeting, which is predominantly adults. I get it. But you guys are allowing this book in school, but you're pissed off that he's reading it. And I guarantee you probably have 7 copies of every one of those books. You and the KKK Grand Wizard you live with.
Read more explicit material to my child. I never had an issue with the material. I have an issue with you coming in here and verbalizing it to my child.
She doesn't have an issue with the material yet. Okay. Would you rather read it to them? Or would you rather they read it on their own? Or would you rather this guy take that shit out of schools, period? I'm going with the latter.
They make you a bunch of fucking weirdos. Weirdos. Weird, bro.
So it is literally one day
Uh-oh, Canada.
after the Capitol Pride Parade in Ottawa, Ontario, and Stephen Lecce, the education minister, is talking to the press saying that parents must be fully involved in students' decisions to change pronouns.
Correct.
And all of this is happening with this infectious idea that's taking over, of this idea of parents'
Drag
rights.
queen,
that
huh?
Parents have a right to know. They have a right to know if their child is going by a different name or using different pronouns in school. And the thing that keeps hitting me about this is that parents don't have rights, not parents' rights. Kids have rights. Children who are old enough to understand a concept are.
So if they think children are old enough to understand the concept of transitioning, which will change their life forever, maybe they should get out of the house and get a fucking job, because obviously they think they're adults. Come on, get them that $15 an hour. Oh, you can't get a job unless you're around 15, 16. Fuck. But hey, at least you can transition at 8.
Are old enough to provide their own independent consent to that. And if a kid knows what pronouns are, then frankly, they're able to consent to changing their own pronouns, and their parents do not need to be involved in that decision.
Shouldn't we be able to define what it means?
Hey,
to be born in the
Billboard
wrong body?
Chris.
Well, we can define what it means to be in the wrong body.
Okay, what is that? What does it mean?
I feel like I'm in the wrong body. That's what it means.
For
I
example?
think children are extremely naive, and I think children
He identifies as
listen
skinny.
to the adults around them.
You know, 10-year-olds engage in magical thinking, right?
Absolutely. I'm a school counselor. That's my job. I literally do this professionally.
Have you changed since you were 10 years old?
Absolutely.
Did you learn some things since you were 10?
I would hope so.
So probably the way you think when you're 15 is a lot different than 10.
Your morals and your identity, those things for me haven't changed.
Well, when I was
And
10 years
what-
old, I believed Santa Claus came down my chimney and put presents under the tree.
Right, because children believe in magical thinking. Children are extremely naive, and I think children will listen to the adults around them. I'm a school counselor because y'all are idiots. So that's all.
What?
I'm gonna say. You're just a bigot. You can go.
Oh, what
Oh,
makes
that's
me
a
a
girl?
bigot, ma'am or sir? I'm not sure. I didn't misgender you, did I?
Oh, please go fuck yourself.
Oh, that's not very ladylike.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're fucking misgendering me, ladylike.
Oh, well,
Well,
what
what are you?
you exactly?
None of your fucking business. What are you?
But you said I misgendered you. If I don't know what you are, how can I not misgender you?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, they don't know what to do. So along with the world changing, people like that having no ability to think, what is actually happening is a lot of people are actually waking up, believe it or not. And even Democratic strategists on ABC are starting to think, fuck, what was I going to say? This Trump movement is working.
Say something, because George, I'm old enough to say this. I've seen two movements outside of the social justice movements in my life on the political side. One was the Reagan movement. Reagan had a hold on his base, the country at large. They saw him as someone who was willing to stand up for American values, whatever that might have meant. Now, I thought it was reactionary. The other movement I saw was Barack Obama, hope and change. That galvanized the American people. I've never seen anything like this with Donald Trump. I mean, what doesn't kill you make you stronger? I mean, being indicted, that's making him stronger. Raising $10 million using an ugly mugshot to raise money. This is a movement. And anyone who thinks that you can apply the old political rules to trying to defeat this candidate based on he's scary, he's ugly, whatever you might want to call it,
now.
This is a movement. And we have to respect the fact that it's a movement. I'll also.
She's telling you, y'all better recognize it's a movement. Oh, all right, YouTube. Please don't ban me for this. Well, this is everyone's favorite person around this time of year because he gets paid more to the president while he's retired than the president gets when he's paid when he's actually serving as the president. But, you know, he's probably the most well-respected man in America because he's been working for the government about as long as Joe Biden. Probably a little less. But he didn't find the cure for AIDS. Oh, wait, I thought he's a good guy. Let's find out.
That if in fact we get to the point where the volume of cases is such,
Shut up, Fauci.
would hope that if in fact we get to the point where the volume of cases is such and organizations like the CDC recommend, CDC doesn't mandate anything, I mean recommends that people wear masks, I would hope that they abide by the recommendation and take into account the risk to themselves and to their families. And again, we're not talking about forcing anybody to do anything.
Totally understood. There is a perception out there by many, how many I don't know, that they don't work and that the data concludes that they didn't work in the first go round. Respond to that on masks.
Damn.
Yeah, well, that's not so. I mean, when you're talking about at the population level, that the data are less strong than knowing that if you look on a situation as an individual protecting themselves or protecting them from spreading it, there's no doubt that masks work. Different studies give different percentages of advantage of wearing it, but there's no doubt that the weight of the studies, and there have been many studies, indicate the benefit of wearing masks.
Oh, fuck out of here.
I'm going to refer to one of them. You've heard about it before. I heard about it from a number of radio callers. Brett Stevens in the Times talked about Cochrane. Put that on the screen. The most rigorous and comprehensive analysis of scientific studies conducted on the efficacy of masks for reducing the spread of respiratory illness, including COVID-19, was published last month. Its conclusions, said Tom Jefferson, the Oxford epidemiologist who is the lead author, were unambiguous. There is just no evidence that masks, make any difference. He told the journalist Mayan Demasi, full stop. But wait, hold on. What about the N95 masks as opposed to the lower quality surgical or cloth masks? Makes no difference. None of it, he said. Well, what about the studies that initially persuaded policymakers to impose mask mandates? They were convinced by non-randomized studies, flawed observational studies. How do we get beyond that finding of that particular review?
Yeah, but there are other studies, Michael, that show at an individual level for individual. When you're talking about the effect on the epidemic or the pandemic as a whole, the data are less strong. But when you talk about as an individual basis of someone protecting themselves or protecting themselves from spreading it to others, there's no doubt that there are many studies that show that there is an advantage. When you took at the broad population level, like the Cochrane study, the data are less firm with regard to the effect on the overall pandemic. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about an individual's effect on their own safety. That's a bit different than the broad population level.
With a passion. All right. So this next video, this is actually the meat and potatoes of this. Black conservatives versus white liberals. They have a good debate. Let's see how it works out. They think they go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different topics. And, well, I think it's pretty nice because it actually pertains to today's society and the generation Z. What's after Z? Are we the one after Z yet? Don't know. Don't care. Anyway, obviously I'm the only one gonna watch this, so again, fuck you guys, because no longer support goes 2 ways apparently, and you guys don't fucking care, so no more support. Anyway.
And we want you to help us decide what the next 112 episodes will be. Join our Money Ground Patreon community and make Money Ground with us.
I was chosen to read the following prompt. White Americans have way more advantages than Black Americans.
I think I'm a rarity here.
Yeah.
It would seem so.
Do white Americans have more advantages because they're white, or do just white Americans have advantages?
It's funny when they say the white Americans have more rights than the black Americans, right? Everyone up there, guess what? They're white, except for this one guy. Of course, they're virtues liberals. Never mind.
Factors. I think that people want to argue at the end of the day over whether it's because you're white or not. I think that the answer is because you're white in the past, and that's how it kind of carries over to today.
Huh?
You know, even in times of the United States history where Black people tried to build wealth, you know, with the Tulsa riots and everything, where that this wealth has been destroyed. And something that's upsetting to me is when conservatives talk.
Wealth has not been destroyed by rich Black Americans, because obviously we forget the first American in the entire country's history to become a self-made millionaire was a Black woman by the name of Miss C.J. Walker. Just saying. Do your history.
Talk about how we can't blame the past for what's happening in the present. That is true to some extent, but then the next breath they'll talk about how important it is to have
I've seen this guy
dual-parent
somewhere
households,
before.
how important it is to have a strong family, to have responsibility passed on from parent to child. And we've seen in the past that because of racial issues, that process has been severely disrupted.
The funny thing is that agreeing with all these things is when I did my research when I was younger, which arrived me to my standpoint of being a conservative, because I believed it was racist, Democrat, liberal ideologies and policies dating all the way back to the 1800s, all the way up to the 1960s, and then the purported big switch. But I think it was more so when Democrats decided to be a bit more cloak and dagger about their true opinions of Black people and be more secretive and more, oh, we want to help you by doing these things and seeing them as inferior.
Doing what things?
Affirmative action, welfare, all sorts of things that
welfare.
eventually ruin our culture
Trump.
and places where we are now.
So
but I want to get back to the history of it, because we're talking
Well, I just
about,
want to make sure we're clear. Giving them money hurt them, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, giving them, because if your father's out of the home, that's when we give you the money. If you're living in this housing,
so then give them the money while the dad's
rent-free.
Well, then give them the money while the dad's in the home.
If you're working this amount of hours and getting,
because that would imply that somebody in that house can work. So why would you give them the money? Free money there, Hunter Biden 2024. You deserve to be
blessed in this amount of dollars, you're getting money from the government. Yes, it is incentivizing.
You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
I don't even know what that means in this scenario, because yes,
you're
okay, you want to talk about throwing babies out with the bathwater? Margaret Sanger wanted to exterminate the Black race because she thought they were weeds. So yeah, we can literally talk about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's what Margaret Sanger, that's what Democrat policies wanted to do to my people. So that's why I feel so strongly about it, because it is these policies that date back centuries that were built off of the death and poverty of my people.
Let's take a breath.
So I'm breathing.
Okay.
So a lot of babies aren't, but I am, sadly.
I don't know what that means. When I say throw the baby out with the bathwater, you want to completely get rid of welfare, okay? Or at least the I don't want to put that on you. You haven't said that, but the conservative apparatus does.
You tried.
So giving money to a group of people does not hurt them.
I mean,
It
sure, if
can't.
you're talking about a lottery,
It
just
literally
take
can't.
money. But
Yes.
there are strings
Take money.
attached to that money.
Take all the
there
money.
are strings attached
Give
to
them
that
millions. Make them all millionaires. I don't care. Giving money to black people does not hurt them.
Yep. And that has
thinking
not
that-
happened, though. That has not happened.
What
I've
do
heard
you
about
mean?
this dude.
That has not happened.
Years.
Giving no.
It hasn't been a
You're saying
reparations. It hasn't been this or that.
what
It has
you're
been
saying,
a welfare program,
welfare
Great
was
Societies
designed.
Act, that
Welfare
was built
was
off of the idea of, hey, we get these families split up, we get these
so
people
then let
living
them
here.
keep the family together and keep all the money.
I mean,
There you go.
I guess
Boom,
so,
done.
but
There's
I
no
guarantee
purpose.
you,
I guess
there's
so.
no way that
Why
would
would you
happen.
not advocate for that?
So in your, I guess, research of like history of this country and everything, do you find like the Reconstruction era and like the failures of like what it wanted to be and then what it ended up being, and then which led into, had downstream effects to enter into the Jim Crow era. And, you have policies like redlining that influence, how schools are funded. The downstream effects of slavery, do you think put black people as generally in a worse off position than white Americans?
I think generation by generation, the effects of slavery
Are
have been
wearing off.
diluted. But
Yeah.
generation by generation, the effects of racism, welfare-based policies, and things of that nature became even more great. So in the 1880s or so, when we had our first black members of Congress, which were indeed Republicans, I think that was a great start for things. But obviously, we had terrible things that happened, like the Tulsa massacre, among black people being chased out of their homes by the KKK.
Sure.
All funded by the Democrat Party, all supported by the Democrat
Okay,
Party.
well, I mean, I need to stop you there.
No, you don't.
Can you attribute not to the party but to the ideology? Because I think when you think
The ideology was the
regardless of
Democrat Party.
whatever the party switch was, traditionally conservative values did not like. That's more aligned with more racist policies
It's
in this
very
country.
difficult
Like
to
very
compare 2020s conservatism to 1880s conservatism. Oh, I was loving the 1v4.
Chandler Shep.
So personally, I feel like there's really only one thing that white people have a true advantage over black people with, and it's that white people are less likely to be forced into a box. It happens with black people onto other black people, but it especially happens with white liberals onto black conservatives, where we are told that we are supposed to think a certain way, be a certain way, and if we're not, then we're called all these names like etc. And the worst of all is bootlicker, because I hate when a white liberal tells me as a black man that I'm a bootlicker, because then I ask, whose boot am I licking? Because you're telling me as a white person that me as a black person that I'm licking your boot because I don't think in this box
that's
that you
kind
want
of
me to
fucking
frame my mentality
racist.
in. That to me is real racism, and that's what we need to stop allowing to happen to us, because black people are so quick now to not branch out and to have new ways of thinking, or to go into careers like agriculture and these other career paths that black people don't typically get into. It's not because of racism stopping them from getting in there. It's because we're told for so long that you have to follow this path and you have to think a certain way.
I think America is a great place for a black person. I think I'm an American. Anything that's available to you is available to me and mine.
I've personally never experienced white people having way more privileges than me. Like, I'm sure you could find certain institutions where
Well, you
black
look
people are treated
kinda
differently.
mixed
But in general, I don't think that I've missed out on anything because of being black. And if anything, it's given me more of a voice because people will want to hear what I say now because I'm black. So if anything, I have more of a platform now just on the basis of being a black conservative and saying what's not popular than I would if I was just a white person who was also conservative.
I agree with the Supreme Court's decision to end affirmative action.
100%.
I think I'm not going to start. Someone else can start.
You need to start.
I think affirmative action has
All right,
served its
listen.
purpose. I think that it was
She didn't want to start because she has no opinion yet, other than what talking points are. So she's going to see what they say, and then she's going to be like, all right, this is my opinion. So way she doesn't sound stupid.
necessary for a particular time. And I think that every black person knows how to get into college. Every black, I mean, you can pull out the names, the Oprah, President Obama. You can pull out the head of Time Warner was black man, the Forbes was black man. We know what to do now. We don't need affirmative action anymore. And to
There you
me,
go.
affirmative action is offensive sometimes, especially nowadays, because I have 6 children and 2 boys, 4 girls. And all of them went to Harvard and Columbia and this one and that one. And it breaks my heart to think that they accomplished that goal of getting into these institutions just because of the color of their skin.
I can definitely say that it creates a lot of tension when you have affirmative action. I remember my first week at the University of Illinois, I was sitting with some classmates and a white student turned to me and jokingly like, "Hey Xavier, like, did you just attach a smiley face when you applied for this college?" And I started asking what he meant, and he said to me that he was like, "You're black. I'm assuming you had decent grades. You could have just attached a smiley face and you would have gotten into the university." So I was livid by that, and I went off. I started naming all of my accomplishments, and I felt so confident only for about an hour. Because then an hour later, I started saying to myself, like, wow, like, did I actually earn my way in here? I started to have this insecurity, and I started wondering to myself, did I earn this position myself, or did my ancestors' suffering earn this for me?
And too, I've
And
seen
that's
it in the sense of like affirmative action taking away from other
and
people who are
it's funny because I feel like that's what the Democratic Party wants people to think. You know, it was all good and all. Like the young black, or the young, ish black lady talking about. Fuck. I just forgot.
people who are minorities. Like I had a friend who was Asian and he in high school and he really wanted to go to MIT. That was his dream school. He interned there. He was super like prepared to go there and he didn't get in. And
Why?
you can only assume that it was because of affirmative action because they have such a large Asian population that they want to admit other people.
Yeah, I was going to actually argue that it's more racist nowadays because it excludes so many Asian Americans from getting into universities who do deserve a spot and they can't get in because of affirmative action, which
Well, it's because Asians are considered white. We're the model minority. I don't get it. I mean, I'm not definitely a model minority. I'm the exact opposite of what the Democratic Party wants you to have. And the Republican Party, because those guys are clowns as well.
again, like you were saying, was necessary at the time.
Yeah.
But now it's like anybody, if you have the skills to do it and you're in America, you can get in.
I don't think affirmative action is the worst thing, considering all the different types or aspects of a background you might take into account when somebody's getting into college, whether they were in certain clubs, Boy Scouts, what type of classes they took that might not be available to everybody. I don't think that factoring in the affirmative action is necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like because of everything you guys have said, the optics behind it are so horrible today that even if it is slightly beneficial in the long run for certain people, I think we can probably refocus most of that into figuring out like the class that people come from, the neighborhoods, the backgrounds or whatever, without it having to necessarily target race. The only thing that I kind of wonder now that it's gone is instead of a black person being in school thinking like, man, am I here because I'm an affirmative action pick? Is it going to be a kid that is poor or a kid that's from a different zip code?
I think we should do away with all of it. Just like submit an application, no demographics. Why do they ask your sexuality? Like, why do they ask all that stuff?
So, if affirmative action accomplished its purpose,
Oh my God.
why do we still see the disparities that we do in the professional workplace? If you average
Dude,
white
you don't look like you're in a-
wealth and compare it to black wealth totals,
All right, looking at this guy. Would you be like, oh, this dude totally works in, executive or, that kind of workplace? Because he's talking about the higher levels. He's not talking about the workers at McDonald's or Piggly Wiggly. Do I have a Piggly Wiggly here? He's talking about the upper class. There is no disparity. Hell, even in the ranks in the military, they actually got promoted because of affirmative action. But, they don't do that anymore. Forgot what I was talking about. That shit.
white people as a whole have about 50 times greater wealth.
I'm just saying I can't stand this motherfucker. In the United States, the average black or Hispanic or Latino household earns about half as much as the average white household, and the only about 15 to 20% as much net wealth. Now, I actually don't believe that. I really don't. Because it's coming from the Federal Reserve.
Wealth and black people as a whole per capita. So I just don't understand why you think affirmative action has accomplished its purpose. I don't see that.
Curious, why do you assume that just because there is a disparity means it's because of a racial issue?
What else would be?
That's racist.
I mean,
upbringing, economic abilities,
Desire to
skills.
go, desire to.
It does play a lot. If you grow up in a neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma, you're not as likely to do as well in school, which means you're.
Why did they grow up in a neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma?
I mean, lots of people do.
Yes,
live in
but
a-
why specifically do more black people?
Government assistance programs.
Government assistance programs, like what?
Try redlining.
I mean, you can go into that if you'd like to, but let's
It
take a
is
look
relevant.
at the Great Societies Act, which was created to kick black fathers out of the home and get black mothers on welfare assistance. these things aren't beneficial for economics. These things aren't beneficial for actually paving a way for success for Black children and Black families. I mean, reducing a 2-family household to a 1-family household isn't going to make them the richest man in the world. It isn't even going to get them out of high school. Nonetheless, the ability to even get to college.
You mean
Yeah,
two-parent?
the child, yes, but a 2-parent household in comparison to a 1-parent household, that child is not going to be nearly as successful. That child is more disposed to being sent into prison by doing crimes or not doing very well in school. So how are they even supposed to get that, that wealth disparity shrunk?
Dude, sorry, Chandler. This motherfucker looked like he just rolled out of bed. Oh shit, I gotta go to this thing.
If they aren't even able to get out of the community that is causing these problems for them.
Something I think that this conversation illustrates is that like affirmative action is literally the very end of the line of a lot of different parts of a person's life. And by that point, trying to rectify all of the inequities that have existed, to try to remedy any of that at the very end with affirmative action, it might just be too broad a brush. And maybe we'd be better served focusing on the earlier issues than trying to throw a kid who maybe, can barely read at a 6th grade level into a college to hope that that's the thing that fixes the problem at the end of the line.
I think affirmative action wasn't really supposed to like send kids to Harvard that weren't prepared to go to Harvard. I think that's quite a myth. In fact, I think those that have the qualities to get to Harvard were before affirmative action could just completely overlooked. Clarence Thomas is like the perfect example. Regardless of what you think about him, he was able to get to Harvard because of affirmative action, because it focused on finding.
That was then. This is now. There's no disparity now. If anybody, like I said, if anybody's being discriminated against, it is the Asian American culture, because they only make up what, less than 1%, maybe 1% or more of the population, maybe 3. I don't fucking know, but still, and that's the biggest thing. Nobody wants to see it because you know what? It's okay. They're Asians. They don't matter. They're 13th class citizens. That's why they can beat them up in New York and get away with it.
People that were, again, like just overlooked for those.
But things ended up changing. It morphed into
There you
something
go.
else. So what started out as a good program of giving all Black people or people with a lesser chance or lesser opportunity, it started out as that, and then it morphed it, and I'm not sure who morphed it, but it morphed into, okay, so now we have to have one Black, one Hispanic, one this, one that.
That's not how that works.
But hey,
that's
talk
how
to
it's
the
working.
Corporations, talk to the people who hire, talk to the board members who say we need to have a woman on the board, we need to have a Black on the board, we need to have a Latina, a Latinx, whatever on the board. So it morphed from helping us into now
transgenders.
Yes. So you have to have one of this, one of that.
Well, when you start with a country where people only hire you if you're white, that's necessary.
That's not.
And I know that you said that it started good and then ended whatever. And I don't think that affirmative action was perfect by any measure, but we still see really, really bad inequality. So if you're going to get rid of affirmative action, what's the replacement?
Meritocracy.
There's no meritocracy in this country. You look at Elon Musk; he's destroying Twitter. There's no meritocracy. That's ridiculous.
Well, first thing I want to bounce back to is it's not a myth that there are like minorities that are being put into colleges that they're not ready for. If you look at a lot of these top universities, including Harvard, Yale, etc., you're going to see a lot of minorities on academic probation because they are being placed in universities that they are not ready for. They are not cut out for that just yet. And it even just makes sense if you look at how much they have to achieve in order to get there. Asian students on average have to score 450 points higher than a Black student in order to get in the same university. So if you think of the universities that have courses, et cetera, that grade on a curve, you can only have so many people with an A, so many people with a B, etc. So that means that the bottom percentile is going to fail. Who is most likely, just based on logic, going to be the ones failing? It's going to be the people who didn't have the credentials to get there in the first place. And then I have to bounce back to.
I want to get you on that point, because I would posit that the people who are least likely to have good outcomes in an academic setting are those who have to work 2 jobs, are those who have to drive there from home because they can't afford a dorm, are those who have to go into crippling financial debt. These are and have other stresses in their life. They can't afford a doctor, they can't afford a dentist, they can't afford anything.
I had to do that too.
And why not?
That's not just Black people. It's not just.
But it's overwhelmingly
straight numbers. There are more white people in poverty than Black people.
If you look at the raw numbers, but if you
I don't know,
actually
what are the
understand
wrong
what
numbers?
your numbers?
No
The
number
issue is
is
poverty
wrong.
in general, though. I don't think it's like who's in poverty. It's like
stupid.
poverty sucks. It
Maybe we
shouldn't
should make
matter
college
who's in it.
free, and maybe we want to have
If you have a
affirmative action
program-
wouldn't be that necessary.
It'll get even more ghetto.
if you have a program that says if you are under a certain income level, this is how we'll help you.
Trade school.
That will overwhelmingly help Black people at a far greater percentage than it will help white people.
Trump supports Black lives.
Well, damn. Wait. What?
I think that President Trump supports all lives. I think that he looks at all American citizens as equal. I don't see him doing anything that would make you feel like he does not support Black lives. That's, of course, going to lead into the conversation of Black Lives Matter, which was a movement and an organization with so much
Organization, not a
corruption.
movement.
Donald Trump not supporting that organization doesn't mean that he doesn't support Black lives. It just means that he doesn't support the fraudulent organization that's stealing so much money from so many people to do absolutely nothing with it, nor does he support a destructive movement that is destroying cities, communities, lives, etc. So I don't see why someone would think that President Trump doesn't support Black lives.
I've heard him say he knows all the best Black people. He has all the best Black friends. I do support Black people all the time. So sorry, that was a very bad impression, but I don't think Donald Trump wants bad things to happen to Black people. So in that respect, I think he does support Black lives. But the other side of that is he's not really doing anything. He didn't do anything as president, certainly, to uplift Black people.
The economy affects Black people.
Yeah, I certainly disagree with that point. One of the biggest things I
What did he do for the
supported
economy?
personally. Well, yeah.
What?
We'll get into that one later. One of the biggest things he did is he secured permanent.
What? What did you do for the economy? Where the fuck have you been? Hunter Biden 2024 hat, looking like you got your shit from the damn dumpster.
Funding for HBCUs, one of the largest increases we ever saw for HBCUs, personally done by his administration, among many other things. The First Step Act, which, there's a lot of debate about whether it was really the best thing to do, but that was definitely a kiss of love to the Black race. Freeing Alice Johnson for menial drug crimes she committed in the past that had her locked up. She did not get to see her family for years.
Yeah, but that's not okay, I did say I agree. But I agree in the sense that Donald Trump doesn't literally want bad things to happen to Black people, like I think a lot of conservatives do. So I think that he just says the most yeah, I do think that. I think he says the things that will get him elected. So I don't think that he has any personal grudges against most people. He just says the most popular thing. So I think like Ron DeSantis would be somebody that I think actually wants Black people to be hurt. So
You're
by
a
that
fucking
standard,
idiot.
yeah, Donald Trump supports Black lives by leaps and bounds.
You think Donald Trump says the most popular thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Then why do
people hate him?
He got elected as president.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He didn't win the popular vote.
Yeah.
Neither time.
That's
Yeah.
a
That's
liberal
what your
talking
side
point.
loves to say.
That's
Yeah.
a liberal talking
I'm
point.
helping you here. I'm trying to see the logic in this. Obviously, he says things to be elected as a politician, very similarly to how Joe Biden did, except Joe Biden actually has a history of racism.
If he said things that people didn't like, he wouldn't have been our president.
So you like everything that Donald Trump says? You think everything he says is popular?
I love a lot of the things he says. I think he's hilarious. When he said big water, that was one of my favorite quotes. Big water.
Water, big water, ocean water.
He has the funniest one-liners, so I love a lot of the things he says. As far as policy, he sucks, but
I'm just shocked you're wearing a Hunter Biden hat. He likes a different kind of one line.
oh, I know conservatives love talking about his.
No, Coke. It's different. Coke, not
Yeah, not crack.
Trump is less of the issue and more so the people that support him, like Die Hard. They facilitate that kind of hate, I think, for a lot of people, not just Black people, but
I mean, this man took out a full page in a newspaper calling for the public execution of 5 Black kids. His hotels, all of his businesses have rampant history of denying Black people apartments or whatever. So
I forgot about that. I should not have stepped forward.
Look, I mean, Donald Trump cares about Donald Trump. So I don't think he really cares about anyone, I guess, unless you're super rich or whatever.
When you look at his history on racial issues, whether it's the shithole countries comment, the plethora of comments he made about Mexican people.
I want to. What's these guys' opinions on Joe Biden, who had at least 47 years of racist comments, all while serving in our government?
The comments he's made about Muslims, the idea that Trump cares at all about some particular racial minority, I think is a little bit silly. I think Trump will say whatever he needs to say to rile up his base and to get elected.
I don't necessarily think those statements come from a place of hatred.
But now that Donald Trump's been indicted, arrested, mugshot, and now the African American community is fully supporting behind him. Well, not fully. The numbers have jumped up considerably. What are you gonna say about that?
Saying specifically, oh, if you pray 5 times a day towards the east or towards Mega based on wherever you are, you're a bad person. I think he was saying if you like to fly planes into towers or behead people or throw people off of buildings, maybe you're not the most virtuous person out there.
I supported Trump because he made the economy good, and so the economy then impacted Black people, white people, Latino people. It impacted
Tell Hunter
everybody.
Biden guy.
But Trump, he didn't think specifically, I don't think, about Black people. He thought about himself, and he thought about how can I make America great for me, and making and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go with this guy, and the reason I'm gonna go with this guy is because if he can make America great and he can make that it rise for everybody, I'm going to benefit from that. So that's why I went, and that's why I voted for him. That's why I supported him.
But how does that specifically benefit Black people? Again,
You're talking to a Black woman.
He's a businessman, but he's also a racist businessman. Like,
You're literally talking
so.
to a Black woman.
So like,
bro. So how are you gonna tell her what racism is? Come on, dude. You just rolled out of bed. You're probably fucking stoned right now.
I just.
And Biden's not.
Oh,
Biden's not.
Yes, he is. He created the crime bill. So that's regardless of the
Well,
point.
just the Central Park 5. That's what you brought up, right? How do you feel about that?
Well,
he took that full
actually,
page out after they were
so I haven't.
He wanted them to be killed,
well,
executed, just because they were Black.
That story.
And he bars people from attending his businesses or like renting apartments from all his like stupid Trump towers. I just like.
okay, but it's okay for somebody to say, "I don't want you coming in here because you're a cop," and it's totally okay, right? Or, you know, oh, we're gonna force this guy to make the cake because it goes against his religious thing, but it's okay because I'm a fucking flaming faggot, right? But no, you know, never mind. What's yours is yours, and what's mine is yours. Wait.
Like many people in this room, particularly liberals, a victim of the media. I think he was scared. I think he was ashamed of the things that he heard in the news and wanted to take action himself as a businessman, not as a
Why
racist.
are you infantilizing him?
I don't like also real quick because people keep bringing up this comparison to the '93 crime bill from Biden. That
94.
crime bill, this was at the height of like violent crime and the crack epidemic in the United States. The Congressional Black Caucus supported that crime bill. Everybody in the United States supported that crime bill. The idea that crime bill was like some racist piece of legislation that Biden was just wheeling out because he hates Black people, and that's somehow comparable to the Donald Trump's treatment of the Central Park 5 that were.
Okay, Donald Trump treatment of Central Park 5. Okay, they didn't die. But the 1994 crime bill, that's pretty much put everyone in jail that was of, you know, lower class, lower minority, because you couldn't even have an eighth of marijuana. They'll put you in jail for like 6 months. Still putting people in jail for marijuana. So what are you going to say about that? Oh, this little faggot smiling like a donut. Makes sense.
Were already exonerated. That wasn't a victim of the media. The media said they were done. They were exonerated in court. They weren't there.
As I understand it, the prosecutor of the 5, he was a Black guy, and so in being a Black guy, he went and he looked at all the evidence and said these guys are guilty.
Black people can also be racist against other Black
There you
people.
go.
Make mistakes.
So if anybody does anything you disagree with in regards to the Central Park 5, even if they themselves are a Black person, they're just a self-loathing Black person. They're just a racist Black person.
If they disagree
that
with me, they're
prosecutor was
racist.
doing his job.
That's my policy. If they disagree with me, they're racist.
I like that.
I think
That's
Trump.
how
Is,
you-
I
like
think
that. That's a
Trump
hilarious
has
policy.
shown a history of ignorant at best and racist at worst behavior. I didn't vote for him or Hillary because I just don't see him as a conservative hero. I don't even think he's a conservative.
Fake
personally.
conservative. I voted Trump in 2016, just so you all know. So I'm just saying.
So I need to I need you to elaborate
Okay.
on if people disagree with you, they're racist, just in general.
I was just kidding.
He's just
You never know.
Just like
one
the
of those
hat.
kind of
It's,
moments.
sorry if I triggered you. I'm sorry.
You made
No,
a
I'm not
point.
sure. I just
You made a
need to know.
point
Okay.
a couple of minutes back where you said he just kind of says these things to rile up his base. Why does he need to do that at the expense of Black people then?
He doesn't do that at the.
He doesn't
I
do
am a
that.
member of his base, and I'm sitting there like, oh man, this is amazing. And I don't know. You can call me
So
self-loathing. You can call me
so
self-hating.
you're
you can call
saying
me
calling
racist.
for
I
the
can call you
public
stupid.
execution of 5 Black men that were exonerated to
When has
rile
he
up
done
his
that
base?
during the campaign trail?
Yeah.
He didn't do that when he was a politician.
Well,
he did that when he
again,
was a scared
it's
businessman
everything.
in New York.
It's
feeling
everything
bad.
Steve said about the comments about Muslims, the comments about Mexican immigrants. Why does he
never
need-
about Mexican immigrants, never about Muslims, about terrorists and about criminals and rapists.
Terrorists and
These
criminals
are
and
very
rapists.
important delineations to make. And if you believe
I
that
think
what
you
offend the media
understand,
about,
or
oh, it's
I
all
think
Mexican
it's
immigrants, I think it's more of you being, oh man,
closet
these poor
racist.
Mexicans,
Yep.
they need to be supported. It's more of that savior complex. Wow,
What was
we're
the
back
rationale
again.
behind axing or trying to axe Donna?
Pretty much like a
For those-
colonizer,
These
right?
people were registered with the federal government. They were in school. They were doing everything that they needed to do. They had no home elsewhere. They were brought into this country as minors. Like, what's the explanation for
I
that?
think
Like,
that requires more nuance. Like I mentioned before, I
You
think
already
there were
paid
some
for their
people.
education.
I think
Why
there
would
were
you
some
wanna kick
people feeding him bad policy advice, thinking, "Oh, this will be really good for your base," and he's doing a lot
You're
as a
just
president.
that's okay. That's okay if we feel that way. But
So
at the end of the-
if I take responsibility for something, if I say he has responsibility for something, well then you're right. But if I'm saying, well, maybe there are some people around him advising him falsely,
Dude,
it's infantilizing.
He was the president.
There's no good way.
He called the shots. What are you talking about?
The only path forward to solving illegal immigration starts with amnesty for everybody here. The reality is there's some 10 to 15 million illegal immigrants here. We're not deporting them all.
With the people who are already here, that's a lot more of a messy, nuanced conversation. But as far as people coming in, I do think we need stronger borders and actual like vetting happening.
And I just want to say, in Ronald Reagan's day, he was given the promise. He said, "Look, if you go ahead and you pass this particular bill, we'll give these people amnesty and we're done." And it didn't happen. We didn't. Illegal immigration continued even after Reagan already said we will give these people amnesty. So that's why we get a burr up our butt, because he had already done it.
Hopefully the devil's giving him amnesty.
True.
That's terrible.
No, that's base. Thank you.
Tasteless.
Wow.
Ninth circle, baby.
My political beliefs have changed from the past.
I grew up in a conservative household, actually, in Ohio. And my parents were always pretty political, so I always stayed political. I was very religious as a teenager. Sometime during college and then afterwards, especially during COVID, my sister actually indoctrinated me into a more leftist position. And I overcorrected a little bit. I started becoming pretty cringy as far as like, sit down and let the minorities all talk, right? Don't say anything, don't speak over them, etc. They would, it was like the whole you can't speak over Candace Owens, even if she's literally a Nazi kind of thing. So
How is she a fucking Nazi?
I
You're
stand
an
by
idiot.
that. So I kind of leveled out, thankfully, and I'm less cringe now.
Did you? Are you?
I cringed.
This is leveled out. Imagine if we would have been here a year ago.
You can, I mean, maybe I am being cringe. Who cares?
You're
doing it on purpose.
I grew up conservative, but I did have more left-leaning ideas about like Black Lives Matter and critical race theory. And I was watching a lot of YouTube and, I did agree that Black people were oppressed and all of these different things and that we were kind of got the short end of the stick. And during 2020, when there was, everything crazy was happening, and I started organizing rallies against the mandates because I thought that they were just totally unconstitutional and un-American. And then George Floyd dies. And initially I was like enraged like everybody else. And then it started to become this weird, political agenda masquerading or behind his face. The face of what was actually happening started to peel off. And I was like, oh, I would counter protest BLM activists at my town square when I lived in Texas. And they were some of the most just bitter, vile, horrible people you could ever meet. Meanwhile, the Confederate group that would protest there against them also, they were the nicest people ever to me, ironically.
I grew up in a democratic, not a democratic household, but kind of apolitical, but everybody was Democrat. And then I got a job. And when I got a job and I saw all the taxes come out and I started looking to the left and to the right and going, oh, my money's whittling away over here.
Yep.
And I said, you know what? After Reagan, I'm just going to go ahead and declare myself a Republican. And I've been a Republican ever since.
My mom is pretty liberal. She married my stepdad when I was 15, 16 in high school, and he's super conservative, loved Trump, diehard Trump fan. And they had a lot of back and forth, hearing the two sides, people who are on such polar opposites, just argue all the time about stuff, seeing that there's a lot of similarities in both sides, the far radical left and the far radical right. They have a lot of similarities. They just don't want to come and see it.
I started off actually kind of similar to you. I went to a Jesuit high school. I grew up very conservative. My mom is Cuban, so ride or die Bush supporter, who is now a ride or die Trump supporter. I think the point of my life when I was the most libertarian.
I sit back and think, I never really paid attention to my parents' political views. I don't even know if they had any at the time, but I'm pretty sure they were conservatives. But at the same time, I really don't fucking care. But I don't actually remember being really into politics until I believe it was 2008. I think I voted for Rand Paul that year. No, in 2008, I didn't vote. I was in Iraq. But the following vote, I did vote for Rand Paul. And I remember telling my kids that they're telling the kids in school, if you vote for Obama, he's going to end the war. So my kids were like, oh, hell yeah. So, you know, the mock votes in schools are like, he's going to bring dad home. Come the election day, come inauguration day. Then 9 months later, I come home. Only to take a year off and then go back for another year. So
libertarian was probably the lowest point of my life financially. And I think it's because something that conservatives do really well is they make you feel like you can always like succeed as long as you work hard enough. And that's something that progressives and liberals suck at, that you're a victim of systemic racism, you're black, so you're going to be discriminated against, you're a woman, so nobody's going to care about your feelings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas Republicans will tell you, listen, if you work hard, you can do whatever you want, like just as long as you're willing to put in the work. And I felt that way up to the moment where I was losing my house, where I had an ex-girlfriend that was pregnant, where I had been fired from my previous job. There was a whole bunch of horrible stuff going on in my life. And I very, very luckily got into online content creation. And from there, as I started to make more money, I started to pay more taxes. When I get older and I look at taxes that come out of my paycheck, I care a little bit, but it was just so funny to me that back when I was making 15, 20,000 a year, I'm like, I got to vote for the lower tax bracket, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm barely paying any taxes anyways. And, now that I'm older, like if the government wants to take, a few, 10, 20, whatever, how many more $1,000 out.
You just said you worked hard.
I did, but I got very, very, very lucky doing so. Very lucky.
Do you think it's just luck?
It's not just luck, but the difference is that
it's
going
definitely
into a
luck.
wealthier family, you can make so many more mistakes in life. And when you're
If he
born
can be a
poor, you get
content
like
creator,
one or two before your life is over.
I've seen it before. That's probably why I remember him. And he makes probably, well, if he makes $1, that's more than I make. So, but I guess I have to be controversial, or I have to be all dramaed out on, all kinds of shit. But I'm not. I'm just me watching videos, giving my opinions, which I guess, yeah. Power to the people.
Over, and that's really sad to me.
Yeah, so I used to be a liberal. I voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016, as much as I regret that now. My family was pretty left-wing. Some of the people in my family were like radically left, like would refer to white people as blue-eyed, redheaded devils, things of that nature. And as I got older, I actually started being really outspoken for BLM. I was supposed to be on a reality show teaching people how to be a BLM activist.
Oh,
At
really?
the time, I did a deep dive on BLM, and I started to realize all of these lies. So then I took a step back. I'm like, okay, what else am I being lied to about? And I started looking at the Democratic Party and questioning my own loyalty to being on the left.
I personally think both sides tend to be racist in different ways. I don't think
That's
the
actually
government is
true.
on the side of the people in general, and that's just me being, a radical.
When I was young, I used to jump for joy and say, oh yeah, Obama, black president, that's so amazing. He's the same color as me. But when I started to do more research, one of the biggest things I was confused about is, well, why is he a Democrat? What is a Democrat? I did more research about the Democrat Party. And sure, you guys are going to pop off about the head saying, oh, there's a party switch in the Southern strategy and all these things.
Which is true.
Which you may say is true. I don't believe it is true at all.
You're
I
wrong.
understand, you may think I'm wrong.
You are.
However, one of the biggest questions I had was, why is Obama in the same party as the people that started the KKK, the same people that voted against the Civil Rights Act, the same people that are on the news talking about how black people aren't able to accomplish anything and need to be on welfare and need to be promoted with affirmative action and things of that nature.
I also, in terms of, I guess, of my political journey, I was raised conservative, actually. And then high school became, I guess, sort of apolitical. And then throughout college and I guess just throughout my life since then, I think
Brainwash.
I guess you can call me a progressive, you can call me, socialist, whatever you, but
Know it.
I guess that's, in the area of where I fall. You said that you were a Bernie fan in 2016, and then you transitioned to being, I guess, more conservative. I guess, I don't know, to me, Bernie Sanders, from what he said to what you think now, what was the shift?
For me, it was socialism, because back then I was a very broke college kid and I just had this mentality that
There it
everyone
is.
should be free. and I was feeling a bit entitled, like everything should be handed to me because I was Black, because I was very much in that mentality. As I learned more about free markets, as I learned more about capitalism, I started to appreciate that much more. I started to appreciate small business much more, limited government, low regulations. I just started to like that much
became a
more.
libertarian.
But I would say just more when it comes to economics, I don't agree with him.
Reparations are necessary.
When we talk about reparations, I think that doing reparations in the way that a lot of people think of it, where we just give it to Black people, I'm not an expert on this, but I think it would be more
Is he the only one
income-based,
out
and that
there?
in itself, like I said earlier, would disproportionately benefit Black people, because if you recognize that they are disproportionately
Oh, why am I not
affected.
surprised? It's the fucking broke college student looking guy. And the guy who obviously goes with what everybody, will look at him and go, oh, dude, that's so stupid, but they're going to watch him anyway. Right? And that's the guy that gets, 1,000 views. Wait, honey, reparations are not necessary. And it's funny, you got all the Black people, the 4 Black people over there looking like, this nigga's crazy.
By a systemic injustice, then doing it on like a class level would uplift proportionally more Black people than white people or any other race.
Yeah, I think like mostly like Black GIs that were left out of like the New Deal, for instance.
You think this guy has a Twitch? He looks like a Twitch streamer.
That to be
That's the
able
game-
to come back
the gaming
and
one, right?
as a white American, as a white veteran, to get a home loan and then build that generational wealth, you could not get that as a Black American. So there needs to be, I think, reparations. I don't care really what form it comes from. I think free healthcare, free college, so that everyone has like an equal opportunity to educate.
So I get it. They want free college. Why don't they make college, something that people pay for? Well, you can still get, government to pay for some of it and scholarships. Why not pay for a trade school? Right? Or put like, do like Germany, put some kind of trade school interaction training in the junior and senior years so they can go straight into the workforce. When I was in fucking high school, I learned to weld in shop class, MIG, TIG, and art. Come on, what are they teaching kids in shop class today? I also learned how to fucking grow crops. Yeah, I did. And my daughter's going to get out being a medical assistant. Come on.
Educate themselves to build a better life for themselves. So it's sort of like, and I think Germany is also a perfect model to follow, by issuing, first of all, a formal apology, which we haven't even done that, but also just like donating to like different funds, and just I think a more equitable society striving for that is reparations in and of itself.
I have no problems with reparations if they had happened initially during the like slavery or the civil rights movement or any of that. But to try and do that now logistically
7
just doesn't really
generations
make
later.
any sense. And like, where would this money come from? Like, we're in so much debt as a nation. Would I get this money? I'm biracial or triracial. Like, do mixed people get it? And like, do Irish people get reparations when they were indentured servants?
I think for reparations, if you can find specific instances of somebody being like actually deprived of something, whether specific instances of like the 40 acres and a meal promise, or whether you can find specific cases of like Chinese people building railroads or Irish people, or whatever, people being deprived of things, that's okay. But otherwise, yeah, it's a logistical nightmare. There's no possible way that we'd be able to do it well.
Yeah,
And
America's
if you
unique
think
because we
about it,
have
I don't
bent
know if
over
America already
backwards.
did it, but in today's modern society, the only ones who are getting reparations right now are, I don't know if they're all alive yet, the Japanese that were put internment camps.
For decades now, putting minorities in a position of privilege. I feel like we have done so much to give back to the communities that were obviously wronged. And I agree with both of you. Like, had this happened a long time ago, I would understand it. If we had specific incidences that we could trace where people were just completely screwed over, I would respect it. But right now, I don't deserve a payment for something my great grandparents went through, and I don't think that white people are responsible for paying that to me either.
I know we don't want to use the word virtue signaling, but it's sort of like a bribe for a vote in a way, at least in my opinion. In states like California, where they've been throwing around the idea of, oh, we want to pay out this much money to every black citizen in there in the state, it's like, oh, are you serious? Because this is kind of like a joke, in my opinion.
I think that if we impose reparations now, I think it would rip America apart. I think that we're already separated enough as it is, and now you're going to have people walking around going, "You owe me money. You owe me money. I'm not paying you any money." It would just really rip us apart.
Giving somebody money doesn't mean anything if they don't know what to do with the money or how to handle the money. So if the primary issue in Black culture or with Black people is generational trauma, then maybe they need more therapy than they need money, honestly.
Which conservatives are also against.
Well, that's kind of my argument. Like, if there is like that, like generational trauma or whatever, like I think examples of like free healthcare, they could see a therapist and not be, fall into debt. And I think the argument of like the logistical nightmares of it, I think if we want to pay for something in this country, we usually find a way to do it, especially when it comes to the military. So
yeah, we print more money.
I mean, we pay for multi-billion-dollar
It's
jets
not
all
the
the
dollars,
time.
it's who's supposed to get them.
Not to attack progressives, but that is like the most progressive idea in the world. Is like, I can see the headlines like reparations voted on in Congress to be paid in the form of free therapy for people in the hood. That just sounds like the funniest thing in the world. But
well, I also don't think it's going to come directly from like, white person to black person. Like, oh, your lineage affected his lineage.
It is though. Like in San Francisco, they were going to raise the average family, or the average household in San Francisco was expected to pay $600,000 each with the $5 million per black person proposal that they had. And I used to live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I was repulsed by that because you have so many homeless veterans on the streets, and they were going to give black people a home for as little as $1 just for being black.
Oh.
Mind you, slavery wasn't even in California. So why that was going to be the case, like, I don't understand, but it's extremely unrealistic to think that the average family in San Francisco can afford that.
That's because Newsom wants to get reelected.
Okay, but you don't really care about homeless veterans, right?
Are you
Like,
fucking
you
kidding me?
don't support
You don't know
I feel like
me.
all your arguments are ad hominem.
But you're here
Literally
as a
every
conservative.
single one
But
ad
you're here as a
hominem.
conservative. So what policies do you support for homeless veterans?
There's ways to address, I mean,
Specifically.
for homeless in general.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say that we didn't find a middle ground in there.
Yeah.
All right.
Why the fuck did you even bring that into it?
White liberals have a safe
Here we go. Come on, I know who's coming. All the white people.
Well, I gotta say, this is a shock. I never expected all four of you to just come forward and admit it. But you know what? I'm happy with these results.
I did.
I just think it's a lot of people, I guess, people, of the left, whatever, can kind of fall into that trap of thinking that, black people as a monolith need to be saved as a whole.
I have no shame about it. I have a savior complex as an older brother, and I will save you whether you like it or not. So that's just me.
Well, it's definitely not,
Hey,
because a lot of us are
test
really just exhausted of being viewed as our skin color. Because when you have this
What is-
mindset that you need to save black people,
Hold on, next. What exactly does he need to save people from? I'm curious. I'm glad you're an older brother. So am I. But what are you trying to save black people from? Especially, obviously, Chandler Crump and Mr. Xavier, they look well off. Chandler's been a conservative since he was like 8.
and we're just sitting here minding our own business and living our lives the way we want to. I don't know why it is that people feel this immense pressure to be so apologetic and just always trying to cater and coddle to black people when we just want to be treated like everybody else. We're
There you go.
equal for a reason.
I think especially recently with a lot of riot stuff that's gone on or protest stuff that's gone on, people on the left tend to infantilize a lot of different types of protesters, and especially even talking to
Antifa.
Some of the other black content creators I do content with. When you hear a lot of progressives come out and say, well, they don't have a choice but to riot or break into this store, or, well, they're stealing, these electronics or shoes for good reasons, you just don't realize it. I think a lot of people kind of look both ways, and it's like,
Oh, I did used to follow him. Then I realized he's a fucking retard and stopped following him. Makes sense.
weird that there's such a complex on the left to excuse like every single possible negative behavior from somebody as long as they're a skin color that you're kind of in charge of protecting.
I find that very offensive.
Yeah.
I find
It's
it
really
extremely,
insane.
it upsets me to hear that because we're just like you. We just have a different skin color. And to hear that you have to help me is offensive to me. I can do it on my own.
Well, we have to break down sometimes why these riots happen. You know, MLK once said that riots are the voice of the unheard. So if you are to address the problem and stop the riots, you have to address the underlying inequality that has historically been pervasive. You know, even if you as individual people are doing fine and you don't want anybody else
doing that white savior
to
complex.
get in the way of that, that's cool. And I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to be the one to get in the way. But the disparities are undeniable.
So if you take pride in having like a white savior complex, what is it that you think that you're doing to save black people, and what is it that you think that you're saving black people from?
I am trying to make the world a better place through whatever means I can. And
But you're doing it on the backs of us.
I wouldn't say so.
Yeah,
Oh,
I actually do.
oh,
I
she
feel-
just called you a grifting piece of white shit. I mean, she called him out.
like you want to be a savior and you're using me to make yourself feel good. That's what I'm
How am I
hearing.
hurting you?
You're not letting me have my own voice. You're not letting me
Exactly. You're speaking now?
No,
You're cutting her off.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
No, you
well,
don't.
what's happening? I mean, you're speaking right now. You're speaking right now in this particular setting. But what you're saying is, like, you took it back to riots and so forth, and it makes it seem like the only way that we as Black people can have a voice is by
Just
riots,
through
and
him.
then you need to come along and you need to say, "Okay, poor little Black child, let me help you. Let me help you." That's offensive to me.
Love you, Renee.
And I feel like you're making yourself feel good about trying to help us, and it.
I also think that like when we talk about damage, I think especially when it comes to a lot of the shoplifting stuff that's going on in certain cities, you get a lot of white people that live in nice suburbs saying things like shoplifting is no big deal, that's fine. And then you'll catch YouTube videos of them later on being in a Walgreens in like a shoddy neighborhood and they're like, man, why is the deodorant behind a locked case? It's very easy to sit behind a gated community and say, oh, well, you know, it's not a big deal. You know, they steal because they have to. Riots are the language of the unheard. I think people haven't read the full context of that quote. When MLK was saying riots were the language of the unheard and you need to address the underlying condition, he wasn't condoning the rioting. He was just understanding it.
Obviously, there are a bunch of white people that feel they need to be a savior, but I think there's a difference between helping and saving. Like, I don't think I
What do you
want to
mean?
save Black people, but I would tremendously love to help and make
Help
sure everyone
how?
has like equal outcome, or not equal outcome, but at least equal opportunity, which
So how exactly is he going to help doing this? Unless he's Antifa, which he probably is because he said he's socialist. But how's he going to do that? Is he donating all his content money to Black charities? Impoverished Black communities? Curious, how are you helping? Same with you, Mr. Fat Fuck over here. No? Hey, yeah, well.
in my opinion, I feel we do not have in this country.
This is awkward. Hi, guys. So I didn't step forward just because I don't want to broad brush all white liberals as having a white savior complex. I have experienced white liberals who do have that, and they're very unpleasant people. But I don't think every single white person who's a liberal or who is an activist for BLM or any of those things necessarily has a white savior complex. I think that there's a lot of white people who genuinely think that Black people are oppressed and they want to help, and that's what they're told.
What it seems like to me, when most people have savior complex, regardless of whom they're trying to save, it's like they're taking real pain and real trauma and using that as a way to push this political agenda, but also to alleviate themselves of whatever guilt that they feel unnecessarily. Like, I don't know why a white person today would feel guilty for things that happened decades ago, let alone something that happened centuries ago.
I've never seen a white person say, I personally feel guilty for slavery.
I
Maybe
promise
they're
you I
out there, but I've never heard that.
Yeah, in second grade,
yeah,
when
they
taught us
are.
about slavery, almost every kid in my classroom would spend their entire time looking at Black kids in that classroom. How was I supposed to not think, wow, these people are feeling guilty for something that they have no involvement in and I have no involvement
Every kid in my
second
classroom understood the context.
People
No,
hate
they
feeling
didn't.
uncomfortable, and obviously you don't want to feel like the bad guy. And so I feel like it comes from a place of like, oh well, like let me make sure that I'm different and like I'm showing you that I want to like help you, but it comes across like I think it can land very poorly.
I'll tell you what, stop it. Stop
Okay.
it. Because what happens is when you put yourself as the white savior, what you do is you elevate yourself above the Black person because you feel then like you have to save us. So just stop it. Just treat everybody regular and normal. Just like I would treat you regular and normal, you treat us regular and normal rather than trying to save us.
I just got one thing I wanted to bring up earlier about taxes, because you were saying that you had your job and you were talking about how like you get the tax every time and you're like seeing your tax go up. I worked in nursing homes in 2020 COVID.
Okay.
The last thing that was on my mind when I watched 60 and 70-year-olds on their deathbeds suffocating to death was taxes. I was worried about healthcare. I didn't give a shit about taxes in that time. So,
well, you were working in a nursing home. You were making tons of money so it wouldn't matter. But the fact that you wanted people to believe that you saw as many people as you did in a nursing home, I don't believe it. And I've never believed the numbers because it's been proven to be wrong. They're in a nursing home at 70 to 80 years old. Okay? Anything like that would kill people that age, to include the influenza. Which, it's influenza season again. It's weird that they don't mention that. They just mention something else. And they're going to call it, the C word.
When I go to work every day, that's what I see. That's what I want to fix.
I see you once again.
Taxes had nothing to do with that. I'm confused. What is he even talking about? He's like he's Mr. Me Too or Mr. Hey, look at me. This dude is so full of shit.
Elevating yourself above
fucking
the rest
reaction.
of us, and particularly at me, a white man elevating himself above a Black person.
He called me a bootlicker. He called me a bootlicker.
Oh no, I triggered them all.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to trigger all you. He's basically saying I'm above you. Okay? And I'm allowing you to listen to me and feel better about yourself.
Sorry,
I'm
sorry.
not triggered. I'm chilling, buddy.
So what I hope comes out
I'm
of this
chilling.
conversation is that we're all Americans.
Hold on. He deserves to get his ass kicked.
And because we're all Americans, we know that America has a bunch of problems. And I think every person here wants to solve the problems. And I think everybody is bringing what they have to the table with their ideas on how to get us to unify. This kind of stuff, right? But you
There
got
you go.
something in there. Hopefully, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you have something in there that's redeeming about you that would bring all of Americans together.
Bro,
So I hope
she's basically saying you're the problem. You're the problem because right now you're giving her that look like this fucking nigga needs to shut up.
that we end on the note of American.
UNITY.
I would like to say we're all made in the image of God, and so we're all have our inherent worth just because we're made in His image, and we should treat each other as fellow image bearers, not just by the color of our skin. I mean, as Martin Luther King said.
He also did not like capitalism.
I think something that's really challenging.
Okay.
I've definitely been guilty in the past of throwing around my uncle.
Did you work in the nursing homes for free? Curious.
I used to be hardcore progressive. I'm still relatively progressive, but something that I've learned as time has gone on is being a white person isolates you from a lot of the different types of racial struggles that people go through. And those struggles can take a lot of different forms. Not just, was my ancestor a slave, and not just is my culture bad, but sometimes in the way that, people grow and develop, right? Like, am I actually choosing these political beliefs
Forget
because
that
they
dude's a
mean something to
content
me?
creator, so he's gonna keep talking. That was the end of that video anyway. But Jesus Christ, those guys, like I said, a few of them are content creators. One of them I'll show you. He was a content creator for a long time, and he actually got demonetized, believe it or not, by YouTube at one point. But here's him. This is for a couple years ago. I don't remember what year. But we're gonna play this in case YouTube decides to cut this off again. I'm not telling y'all how to think. I'm just telling y'all to think. But that whole time, Mr. Hat Dude, he is exactly what's wrong with the country. Plus the guy that looks like he just got out of bed. That's fucking insane. And it just shows you that they feel so guilty about something that they had no control over. So I'm kind of curious, how much of that content creator money do they donate? None, probably. Just saying. But anyway, this is Chandler Crump.
You still wearing a mask? Bro, it's 2021. Yo, you looking mad stupid, bro. Come on, take that thing off. Yeah. Masked up out here looking crazy, masked up out here looking crazy. Ain't no facts, can't debate me overweight. You real lazy, masked up out here looking crazy, masked up out here looking crazy. Ain't no strap, looking weak, got you leaning in the street. Masked up out here looking crazy, masked up out here looking crazy. Ain't no facts, can't debate me overweight. You real lazy, masked up out here looking crazy, masked up out here looking crazy. Ain't no strap, looking weak, got you leaning in the street. You laughing right behind the scenes, you open the screen, talk about the vaccine. Still wearing a mask cause you want fear. What is gonna do? They give us 1 tears. Put them on kids when they're just trying to grow. Hide up in the world, now sanity will go. Corrupt on the mind, true morality unknown. Won't ski kissing, you'll be shocked to find degeneracy, ignorance, and pain is on the mind. Driven by fear on the world, on no regret. Screaming that they hate you, all caps on the text. Then they hit themselves when it ended all next. Started with a mass subliminally hex, stay asleep in the matrix, pretending they're in the mix. Refusing to wake up, walking dead in a flick. Beg them all to walk away, now they all in the thick. Sticking on the quicksand, deeper than you understand. You want your kid back, but you give her up to the man. Masked up out here looking crazy, masked up out here looking crazy. Ain't no facts, can't debate the overweight. You real lazy, masked up out here looking crazy, masked up out here looking crazy. Ain't no strap, looking weak, got you leaning in the street. You so clownish out here wearing masks because they told you so. With daddy government in charge, so that line is what you told. You quick to take the COVID jab, and another couple dozen book it. Banned off all the socials when you joke. I've got enough. Seriously, book a fan for that. But you can praise when you say it's from the back. Bowing everything through the new alphabet and alphabet. Signed up and try everyone running it. The gays get a motherfucker blind with a Easter. Kicking to the keister. Why you double masked up? Got your finger here, and you know what's stuck. And if you transmit it, I forget to tuck. When you are presented, well, you better go on luck. And if you're confused, you better look it up. Like chunk yogurt, and that'll never be enough. Damn, and that's rough. But what do you change? You feeling bad about your move, but you never rearrange. Listen to the media, always someone else to blame. But when you cry and have everything with all the pain, for the people trying to keep it or maybe trying to do. You relax while they fight, and while let's take a look at you. Locked and drinking, online screaming, disagreeing, hate the white men. Your assignment, break the culture. Then you smile, the future vulgar. Hope is over, the dream awoken. Up into the nightmare, wonder how we got here. They been saying progress, but I know we going nowhere. Dang, we going nowhere? Masked up out here looking crazy, masked up out here looking crazy. Ain't no facts, can't debate me overweight. You real lazy, masked up out here looking crazy, masked up out here looking crazy. Ain't no strap, looking weak, got you leaning in the streets. Yeah.
They say Bryce and Nancy facts.
Uh-oh.
True. I'm not taking that poison. I don't know about you. They said you needed 1 shot. Now they say you need 2. That's not all that is saying. You need a booster shot too. Do your Googles, look it up. Stop talking and just listen. They say it keeps you out the hospital, but all the stats ain't different. Look at after De La Hoya did Joe Rogan. There's a difference. One is back and one ain't. One in the hospital, one isn't. That's that Z-Pack. Ivermectin. Stop the stressing.
Hold on,
Turn off
time out,
mainstream news.
It's funny that we're listening to this song because guess who just got COVID? First Lady Jill Biden. And Joe is supposed to go to the G20 summit real soon.
News is all depressing. No vaccine passports. I'm still stepping. Haven't wore a mask in 8 months. I'm still flexing.
Masked up out here looking crazy, masked up out here looking crazy. Ain't no facts, can't debate me overweight. You real lazy, masked up out here looking crazy, masked up out here looking crazy. Ain't no strap, looking weak, got you leaning in the streets.
Alright, good. Fuck that. Thank you for watching, and if you're still here, at least hit the like button. And I'll see y'all next time.